everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you're here today. I am hopping on working on a Fiber Friday video, and so I thought I'd film this one. Couple things. I know my Fiber Friday videos are pretty broken up, and the reason that is because I don't want to just come on and show you the end result. I'm trying to take you through the process, and to get sometimes for my life, as busy as we are, it takes me a few days to make a skein of yarn, easily a few days. And so I want to walk you through the process and show you what I'm doing, the techniques I'm doing. And I like to be able to talk to you here. And I also have my new phone neck thing that I've been using so you can actually see what I'm doing. So I'm adding some of those videos in. Yeah, so that's why the Fiber Friday videos are a bit broken up. Hopefully no one is bothered by that. But I wanted to get this one started. I've already sat here for a little bit and worked on this one just a touch. I haven't done a lot, but I wanted to see how it went. I'm working specifically with Angora this week, and I am doing, I don't know if you'd call it art yarn per se. I am going to call it art yarn because it is not traditionally how you would spin Angora, or how they say you should spin Angora. Remember, I started out on this journey 20 years ago. I've told this story, I know, 100 times. It was very early internet days, and I went looking for my small acreage fiber animal, found Angoras, and then almost didn't do them because of how negative the internet was. It was blogs and a couple of websites where I could find articles written in magazines. They were very negative about spinning 100% Angora, which is what I wanted to learn to do, and very specific about how you did spin it. You could not drop spindle it, which is all I had when I started. The first 2 years of my spinning journey was just a drop spindle. And I just don't let people tell you you can't do things. It's why I'm here today. It's why I started this YouTube channel, was because I wanted people to experiment. Thankfully, the last 20 years, not only has the internet changed, but also the yarn scene has changed. And so the whole art yarn word has come in. That wasn't there 20 years ago. At least I didn't know it. And so art yarn has kind of really revolutionized what we can do with our wheels and what used to be traditional spinning. And let's be honest, it was all practical spinning. Today's yarns aren't always, they're more artsy than they are practical. You wouldn't take a beautiful art spun yarn and make just anything out of it. It's a very specific yarn made for a specific reason. Hello, Charlie girl. And so, yeah, just keep that in mind. And every time I have classes where I teach people how to spin and they're like, oh, I messed up, this is a big blob. And I'm like, you know what? We just call it art yarn. It's a thing today. You can call it what, you can do whatever you want. The one thing I would caution you against, I might need to put her in the bedroom. Yeah, go over there. The one main thing that you do want to focus on when you're making yarns, though, in any kind of yarn that you're making, is that your yarn is structurally sound. You don't want, especially with Angora, because it can be slick. It's a slippery fiber. You do not want yarn that pulls apart. I can even tug on this one. I'm tugging pretty hard, actually. And you can see there's some thick parts there. You want it structurally sound so that it's going to hold together. You do not want your yarn falling apart, especially if you're selling it. You want to make sure that it's structurally sound yarn. Now, the one thing with Angora that, and I had this question a few weeks ago from someone, most of my Angora, I do not spin, like I don't spin lace weight Angora. I spin probably DK weight for the most part, or even a little bit thicker. When I first started on my spinning wheel journey, I used to send all of my spun yarn to New York City, and there was a boutique there, and she made all kinds of really expensive stuff with different farmers' yarns that she had gathered a co-op of farmer or spinners and farmers, Angora rabbit farmers. And I sent all of my yarn to her. She always wanted it just a little bit thicker. And so I kind of got used to spinning it that way even. So I think the traditional way of spinning Angora is DK, maybe even thinner than that. Sorry, I got Angora in my mouth. And where my tendency to spin it is oftentimes a little bit thicker. So I range between that DK weight and just a little bit more. And so mine does not shed. I've showed you guys my white shawl that I made for my mom years ago, and I still have it. It's probably 12 years old. It doesn't shed. It has a halo, but I spun it structurally sound so that the halo comes out, but the fiber is not coming out. Otherwise, 12 years of that shawl being used and loved, you wouldn't have a shawl left if it was shedding. So the thing with spinning art yarn Angora is that you might get some more shedding on this fiber. So just one thing to keep in mind, what are you making it for? And there's a couple different ways you can do this. We'll get into that, but I did want to show you, we have a hot week coming up this week. It is the second week of September, and we're supposed to, although the last day or two that we were supposed to hit in the 80s, I don't think it's gotten there. And 80 degrees in September is always different than 80 degrees in July. But I had some really full rabbits out there. They were due, a couple of them were overdue. It's been a busy summer and recovery and all of that. So I have tried my best to keep up on my rabbits. I haven't done great. So I had a couple that I got completely sheared down yesterday because I know we have some warm days coming up here. And they will thank me for that. So I sheared my German Angora, pistachio, and German Angoras have to be sheared or clipped. They do not naturally release their fibers like French and English do. So I sheared her yesterday, and I wanted to show you her fiber. It's lovely. She is a chestnut German Angora. And check out that staple length. I didn't measure it, and I don't have my tape measure with me, but it is like right here is where I clipped. You could see it. And that some of those little tiny fibers are almost taller than my fingers. So I'm guessing this is probably 6 inches easily. So she has been sheared down, and I did not weigh this. I'm just this is quite a bit of fiber though. That was all from her yesterday. So my famous Folgers, I love these things. I have tried to upgrade into more fancier things. When I go to the thrift store, I get glass ones or, just nice ones. And I do have those, but they're all full right now. That's why I'm working with Angora this week, is because I'm trying to catch up on some of my spinning, because I got behind this summer, with my recovery and everything else. So I am behind, but, so that's what I'm working on today. And I'm also going to be working on some dyed Angora projects for Fiber Friday coming up probably next week. So stay tuned for that. I am going to, again, be shifting you probably over to my little holder where you can see what I'm doing. But I want to show you how I am spinning this. And then by the time this video is complete and comes out, you will see what I've made, the whole skein of yarn, because I'm going to get it done. Remember, when you are spinning thicker, you're going to use up your fiber quicker, if that makes sense. So the more fiber you put into each of your yards of yarn, you're going to use up more quickly. So if you typically, a lot of my 100-yard 2-ply Angora skeins usually range right around 2 ounces. I am guessing this is easily 4 or 5 ounces, if not more. This might be closer to 6 or 7 ounces. This is a lot of fiber, and it is compacted because I shoved it in this can yesterday. So where with traditional 2-ply spinning that I do on my Angora, I may get, you know, 300 yards out of this. When I'm spinning it this way, I probably will only get maybe 200 yards of yarn out of it. So that's something to keep in mind too with what you have available. And the nice thing about her fiber being so long is that it will give me that structure that I need to keep it sound, if that makes sense. If you had short pieces and you were trying to spin them thicker, so you might have, let's say you have, and I will show you this more. Let's say you have a section like this. Oh, that one unspun a little bit, where you have a thicker section in your fiber, and there's only, you know, an inch or 2 inches long of spin, and you haven't spun it that much. That's where you're going to get your shedding from, or your spin not being structurally sound. So you want to keep that in mind too. So I am going to switch you around and kind of give you a bird's eye view of what I'm doing here, and we'll go from there today. Okay, guys, I have it turned around here, and I've actually worked on a bobbin. It is, I didn't fill it completely. I still have quite a bit of fiber left, but I'm just doing sort of a sample skein today, but I do have it. As you can see, it's not real art yarny. There are some bubbles here and there, and this is quite, let's see if I can find, that's quite thick for one single strand of Angora, and there are thin and thick parts in through here. So I am just going to show you. I have all of this beautiful fiber, and let me get it started here. And it's hard to, this neck phone holder is awesome, or camera holder. It's still hard to see what I'm doing, so I'm kind of spinning blindly right now because I'm more looking at the camera than I am my hands. So you can see I am just kind of letting a good chunk of fiber go into my hands and just spin. I am guiding it. I'm trying to get the clipped ends. I've talked about my clipped ends before. Oop, and there's some second cuts right there. Those are really easy to see when you're spinning. You just pull them right out. When you have that, I think I mentioned earlier in the video that I was having problems with my my shears yesterday when I cut all of this. So yeah, so when you have clipped ends, you want to make sure that you are blending them. So what I don't like is if I were to, let me see if I can do it intentionally. You can kind of see where it's very blunty right there. And I don't like that. I don't want it to be so blunt in my spin. I see a couple more. There's some second cuts kind of mixed in with the rest of it. So that's just what I'm doing as I work through this. I am just adding or making the, and there's another short one. There are a few more short ones in this section than what I had in my last one. And when you're doing, you know, this isn't consistent yarn, so you don't have to be, I feel a piece of wood too. You don't have to be as particular because you are going to ply these two together. And again, this isn't going to be a consistent machine looking spun. This is going to be very much a hand spun, art spun look to it. So that's how I'm working through this pile here, and some of it is thinner. I've just kind of let my fingers do what they want to do today, I guess. So there's some thin pieces, there's some thick, and I would never go too thick with Angora because, again, let me see if I can show you what I was talking about earlier in the video. And remember, this is directly off the rabbit. This hasn't been carded, and this actually wasn't combed. A lot of times when it's combed, it's kind of like carding it in a way when it's been combed, because it is kind of aligning all of the pieces together. Let me see if I can find a piece here to show you why I wouldn't spin it too thick. If I can get this one to grab there. There we go. So what you're going to see, that one actually turned out pretty cute. But if I were to let go of some of this spin here, this is just really, it's just going to break. So you don't want that. You want to definitely have strength in your spinning. You want your yarn to have structure. And when you do mess up like that, actually I didn't mess up, but I wanted to intentionally show you how I did that. You just pull it back apart again. So I'm going to finish up the second bobbin here, and then I'm going to apply these two bobbins together, and I'll show you what I end up with. Okay guys, I just finished up the yarn. I went ahead and just plied it. You didn't need to see me applying another thing of yarn. It's just the way I've always done it. So I've got it finished, and I wanted to show you what it looked like finished. And I also wanted to show you a comparison. So here's the finished skein. I wouldn't really call this art yarn per se, but for how I traditionally spin Angora, it's, you know, it's got some thick and thin in there. And it's spun quite heavily. Let me show you. I've got another skein. It just came undone. This is just a little skein I had. It was on the end of a bobbin. I guess it's not actually done. So this one isn't even skeined up. This was just a small amount of fiber, or a small amount of yarn that I had. So when you compare it, it is a lot different than how I would normally spin Angora. So I hope that video was helpful. And I guess that's it for today. Hopefully you guys are creating something today, and I hope you have a fantastic